Hi, everybody. Alan here. Just want to do a little quick preamble on this interview with Ryan Mitchell as he prepares to go to K2. After this interview with Ryan, there's going to be a 30-minute documentary that I created a few years ago about my climb of K2 back in 2014 that you may enjoy. And also, this is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to show some pictures and slides of my climb as well as pictures of Ryan as he trained to go to K2. So it's a little bit different format. So I encourage everybody to watch this either on my blog at alanarnett.com or on YouTube on my channel. Thanks, Al. Hi, everybody. Alan Arnett here with another podcast on the blog on alanarnett.com. It is Tuesday, June 17th, 2025. And look who we have. It's none other than our favorite worldwide YouTube sensation, Mr. Ryan Mitchell. Hey, Ryan, how you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing great. I'm so excited to be back on the Alan Internet's podcast here. It's been like a year and 2 months since the
I
last one. That was
know.
right before Everest.
I know. Hey, I'm curious. What you got any plans for this Saturday?
Yeah, we're just flying to Pakistan to climb K2. So chill Saturday
Yeah,
evening we got going on.
just a little thing you got going. Oh, me. So, the world was really, I think, just thrilled, enthralled with your all the videos that you made on Everest. You have, what do you have, like a billion views or something?
A billion, whoa. I mean, it's been awesome though. The support has been super overwhelming, and I'm like, is glad I'll go out and just climb Mount Si, which is a random hike near my house. It'll be like training for K2, day 14, and people actually tune into it. So it's pretty awesome.
Hey, I saw a comment from a lady. I think she said that she was 81 years old, and that she was really struggling with some health issues. And she thanked you for being an inspiration to her. So, when we first started talking back in December of 2022, you said that one of your goals was to inspire your generation. Ryan, you've done more than that.
Yeah, I've gone past that. Yeah, I guess a little bit of background, but I had a Minecraft YouTube channel for those who don't know, and I was kind of a little bit tired of just making Minecraft videos for kids and everything, and they were good, they were pretty funny, but it just kind of felt meaningless in a way, and I really wanted to do something cooler that not only I could improve myself, but I could also hopefully inspire some others to do the same. So I threw all my money I had at Mount Everest, and it somehow worked out. And now we're going to K2.
Yeah, in preparation for Everest, you did the Ecuador volcanoes, Denali, Aconcagua with Ed Viesturs, and then Madison Mountaineering on Everest. And man, like we talked about in the last podcast, you really did it in style. I mean, you just zoomed from South Col up to the summit.
I know that was a good day. That actually wasn't the hardest day for me. I think we talked about that. I got a cold going up through the Khumbu Icefall one day. That was brutal. But summit day, I had Furba Sherpa leading in front of me, just flying, and we were getting up there in no time. So yeah, hopefully we have some of that. I think I'm more fit than I was than I went to Everest. Well, by far more fit.
I think so.
So
Yeah,
I think we're gonna have a good shot.
is Purba going to be with you on K2?
Yes.
Okay, great. So you're going to climb with him.
Yes, I'm so excited. He's the best. He seriously is.
So
So strong.
you've got a relationship with him like I have with Kami Sherpa from Pengboche. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
We
Yeah,
did we
he
did
looks out
Everest and
looks out
K2
for me.
and a few others together. So great.
Yeah, no, they're so awesome. So strong, so impressive. And nice shirt, by the way.
No, thank
Nice
you.
freaking shirt.
My wife gave that to me in honor of our boxer, our 3-year-old boxer, Marley, who's somewhere around here. He'll probably bark sometime in the middle of this
Marley.
podcast.
I
Um,
remember that.
if somebody comes to the door, he'll bark. Let's back up for a second. So you just explained why you did Everest, and then you made a major life choice by moving from Massachusetts to the Pacific Northwest in the Seattle area, and you did that primarily because.
Just to get better at climbing. So it all started with wanting to make a YouTube video on Mount Everest because I initially never had climbed anything. I mean, before December 2022, when I reached out to you and was seeking mentorship and everything through your your coaching program and all of that, I had done nothing, no climbing. I could barely even run a mile without my shins just giving in because I was like a pretty, and I was looking at the first podcast we did, and I was like, I was definitely not as lean, not as strong looking.
You were
Um,
18.
yeah. So I was able to train out in Massachusetts for that goal, and I definitely was able to get in shape physically. But I fell in love with climbing along the way, climbing Mount Washington, Denali. So it went from just wanting to make a YouTube video out of climbing Mount Everest to an actual passion for it. And after Everest, I realized there's so much more to climb. There's so much more to this sport than just being physically in shape, being able to go up fixed lines and everything like that. There's just a whole different layer, and there's no way I was going to learn all of that in Massachusetts. So took the opportunity of the Mount Everest videos doing well because I knew I could kind of make it into a career as well, and improve. Just surround myself with better climbers. That's the best way to improve in any profession or career or passion you have. Surround yourself with other people who are also on that path. Moved to Seattle area, and now I've definitely I still have a lot to learn, but it's been such an amazing call, I guess, on my parts because I've definitely improved a ton, and it's been awesome.
And you also befriended a professional mountain guide.
Yeah, that's Justin right there. Yeah, I actually met him on Denali when I first went, and he pretty much like in a way he like saved my life a couple times. My crampon fell off, and he's like a savage. He just walks back up the slope. He's like, "All right, Ryan, we're gonna get this crampon back on you." Super calm, and it's so
Yeah.
respectable to see people who can handle themselves in a calm manner in the mountain when stuff's going south. But from there, we got along super well, and I reached back out to him. He lives actually in Oregon, but we get together and climb a ton, and he's been like another in-person mentor to me, which has been super great.
What's your family feel about this?
So it's kind of the same th Okay, so obviously my mom was very upset when I moved, and I made a video about that actually, saying how like I was very at a crossroad with moving out here because I love my family. I want to be around them. I love my dog. I love my brothers. I love my dad. I love everybody over there. Um, and yeah, it was a hard decision. And the first like month I was out here was really tough on me in a way, but at least I was able to distract myself with climbing. But I definitely made sure to feel the emotion and remember why I came out here, and made it a goal and priority to visit them as much as possible. But they know that this is really what I like to do, and this is why I'm happy from this. I've really found a lot of fulfillment in climbing and going down this path. I think if I was still making the Minecraft videos locked up in my room all day, I would be far less happy, even though I, could play with my dog more often. But yeah, so that they're the same though in terms of climbing. They know that we're going with good people. They know that we're putting in the work so we don't get hurt or something worse happens. And they know hopefully we got a good head on our shoulders and we
Right.
know make the right decisions.
Yeah. Hey, can you crystallize in a few words what climbing means to you? Mountain climbing?
Yeah, I mean that's a hard
Yeah.
scrimmage because I'm sure you've had people they're like you tell them, "Oh, I'm a climber or a mountaineer." And usually a lot of people think like, "Oh, like bouldering or what grade bouldering can you do or what rock climbs can you do?" They don't immediately think of, like high altitude mountaineering or alpinism because they're kind of all grouped together, like bouldering, rock climbing, ice climbing, all of these things. But climbing, I guess, is just I don't know, I guess it's just the art of ascending big land masses in one way or another. And it can't just be done in one single way. You got to learn. And that's the beauty of it. There's so many different skills, there's so many different layers that goes into climbing things. Is that the best way to describe it? Like, I don't know. How would you personally describe climbing?
Yeah, I mean, actually, I did a podcast with Steve House yesterday, and he brought this up about this new age of mountaineering, and is it still mountaineering in that traditional definition that that Ed Viesturs was a mountaineer, And so we talked about the difference between the term alpinist. That term in my mind, an alpinist is somebody that is truly a professional climber that doesn't use support like Sherpas or porters. They typically climb an alpine style, which means it's not the C style of going up and down the mountain. They basically make one trip up the mountain. Typically, it's a small number of people. Mountaineering has become more synonymous with commercial mountaineering, going with, professional guides, going with people that you don't know, aggregating on a team to keep costs down. You use support, you use oxygen typically. So it's there's got to be another terminology because the world has moved on from pure alpinism and from that commercialization to kind of what it is today. And I think that you're kind of got a foot in both camp. And so that's what we're going to talk about as we go through this podcast. I'm going to try to do something a little different. So for the audience, those listening on this from just on audio, it may be a little frustrating because we're going to show a lot of pictures. We're actually going to talk, Ryan and I are going to go to the summit of K2 together using slides that I've taken. Woo! We're going to use pictures that I took from my 2014 summit. And I've got interspersed in that pictures I've taken from Ryan's climbs, his training climbs. And what we're going to do is go through step by step, all the way from the trek in, going up to camp 1 through 4, then to the summit, and show those pictures, and then ask Ryan. All right, I'm going to ask you, Ryan. So, how are you? What do you think about this section? Are you concerned about anything? And also, how did you train for this particular section? So, it's going to go by pretty fast. We're not going to rush it, but also we're not going to belabor it. And again, I invite everybody to go to the podcast through my blog or the YouTube video, which will be on my channel, and maybe we can talk Ryan into putting it on his channel as well.
Awesome. Yeah.
And now you have two YouTube channels. There's the Ryan Mitchell and the Ryan Mitchell Unfiltered. What's the difference between those?
Yeah. Basically Ryan Fil Unfiltered. So Ryan Mitchell is more like top class, more cool climbs that are usually longer videos. If I'm actually going out, like Northridge of Baker, we just did, like that's an awesome climb. But I also was like, I'm going out for 12 hours sometimes, doing laps on Mount Si or some random hill near my house, and I have some cool things to say, and I want to share that with the viewers, but I don't want to post that on the main channel because I feel like it's not good enough to go there. So I wanted to make a second channel that just has no pressure. Because it's a weird thing with YouTube where you don't want to always post like low quality stuff compared to high quality stuff on one channel because you might lose momentum on the videos. And also, let's say if you do a sponsor deal, they're going to be looking at the views that you average on videos to give you a rate. So if you're getting consistent, 100,000 viewed videos, then they're going to base it off of that. But if you get a 100,000 view video and then every other video is 10,000 views, they're going to factor that in. And it doesn't matter what you tell them. They're just going to look at the numbers because usually that's what they care about. But that's kind of it.
So you continue to solve the YouTube riddle, and you've actually,
YouTube algorithm.
yeah, you've been able to make it a actual make money off of it, which is amazing. But before we get into looking at the pictures, let me ask you one last question. Why K2?
Good question. Well, I guess this kind of comes back to what you were just saying about the whole alpinism versus mountaineering thing. And I think if we're gonna look at it from that perspective, I do think alpinism is the top notch, right? That is the pinnacle of any sort of climbing, is being an alpinist, where you're combining ice climbing, rock climbing, steep snow ascents, all of this stuff, doing all of the work yourself. That is the pinnacle. It's kind of combining just every area of climbing together. And obviously, I've fallen in love with climbing, and I do want to get to a point where I one day could be considered an alpinist or, a high level climber in a sense. And that's going to take time, and I'm definitely, improving, but I'm not really at a level where I could go whip out a first alpine ascent, not even close. But I did Everest, and I knew there was more out there, right? And I've loved the 8,000 meter peak climbing because personally for me, one of the most attractive things about climbing is the physical pain you put your body through. Some would call me a masochist, but I don't know. Um, So you really can't find that anywhere else besides on like high altitude peaks where you have to deal with the altitude, the colds, the long duration. It's just a super raw human experience. Um, and it just makes for like awesome documentation as well. Like it's a cool story. You remember it for so long. I mean, I'm sure you have endless stories of these trips and everything. And then I guess K2 is, it's you go from Everest and then K2 is kind of the next one, and it was a really attractive peak to me just because it's more technically challenging. It's kind of the next level up from Everest. And I always want to have a purpose to wake up with and train towards something. And I guess once you're done with Everest, it's like, okay, well, let's improve our abilities. Let's see what we're capable of and rank up to the next peak. And that was kind of K2. And one day, we might end up doing something different. I think, next big goal. I know that's maybe what you would ask at the end, but it's kind of ties in here. Like I would love to try Manaslu without any oxygen or something like that, where you're just on this ranking up path, obviously doing it safely and slowly. But that was the reason for K2. It's a cool mountain. It's got some crazy history behind it, and it's just a raw climb.
Uh, yeah, I couldn't agree more. In my mind, I never even dreamed of climbing K2. I always thought it was way beyond my capability, my capacity, especially as I was in my later 50s. So when I was on Manaslu, and Phil Crampton said to me, "Alan, you did well on Manaslu, and you're not getting any younger. So if you want to go climb K2, now's the time to do it." And I was like, "What?" And so, everything just fell into place. The universe came to my aid, I guess, and I found a sponsor and hooked up. I was going to go originally just Kami and I and just use a Pakistan logistics company, but then Garrett, I found out I was going, and I found out he was going, and then we hooked up together and went and just had obviously a fantastic time. So with
Yeah.
all of that, great answer, love it, love it. Let's and again, a warning to the visual viewers: this may be a little rough, but we're just going to power our way through it. So here is, let me start the slideshow here. So Mount Everest is 29,035 feet. K2 is about 800 feet lower, around 28,200 feet. So that, even though it's shorter or lower, it's also a lot more difficult, as Ryan already mentioned. Here, I'm trying to get rid of the video panel up here, not that one. So everybody knows that it is in the middle of Pakistan, northern Pakistan. It's actually on the border with China, and it starts off with going to a trek. And it's a very, very different trek than going to Mount Everest. Personally, I think this is one of the most beautiful treks in the entire world. You fly into Islamabad, which you're going on Saturday, and you're going to spend a couple days there.
Yes, I gotta get rid of that jet lag, dude. The jet lag can get you bad. So,
You know where you're staying?
it's this place, the Hotel Serena, I think.
Okay, yeah, cool.
It looks pretty legit. Not gonna lie.
But then hopefully you're gonna fly from Islamabad to Skardu. But the flights have become more reliable, but you may have to go up the Karakoram Highway over a 2-day bus ride. I hope you don't do that. I flew into Skardu, but we took the bus back. The problem with Skardu is it's surrounded by these beautiful, beautiful mountains, and often the airport gets closed. And make sure you sit on the right-hand side of the airplane, because you look out, you'll see Nanga Parbat, and you may add that to your list.
That's honestly that's a scary mountain. That's
It is.
like
It is. That's the real deal. But
it is.
then you're going to eventually get up to Ascoli, and you're going to get in these four-wheel drive Toyota Land Rovers, yeah, and go along these dirt roads. They get stuck in these mud pits, and so you got to pull them out. But eventually, you will end up in Skardu, I'm sorry, Ascoli, and you'll have all these. The amount of gear is just ridiculous that it takes to climb K2. But they weigh everything, because everything is carried on the back of porters. There's recently been an addition of horses and mules, but they don't have like yaks, and they don't do helicopters in Pakistan the same way. Remember that the area that you're going to is on the disputed area with India. So it's right next to Kashmir. And a couple of months ago, there was a conflict between Pakistan and India over Kashmir. So it's heavily bordered or heavily patrolled by the Pakistani military. There'll be multiple checkpoints where you're going to stop and check your passport and your climbing permit and things like that. But these porters are just incredible. They're fun to be around. They're really friendly, really nice, and they work their butts off. Incredible. Um, then you're going to start going up. And what does this make you think of, Ryan, when you see a picture like this?
Um, Very technical climbing. It's
Yeah, this is
scary mountains.
This is Nameless Tower, and with your photography and video school skills, you're going to be in a target-rich environment. You're going to cross a bunch of streams and go across these wooden bridges. Eventually, you go into these camps. This is a picture of a camp, one of the first camps where there's actually a green tree. Make sure you take this in and go smell the tree because this will be the last anything green you're going to see for about a month. Uh,
Yeah. And
Different.
that's a bit of a difference between this and the Everest Base Camp trek, right? Is you're staying in tents, or at least you did,
Oh yeah, yeah.
versus
There's no huts. There's no tea houses. No, you'd be
the
sleep.
Everest Base Camp trek is luxury compared to this, basically.
Yeah, this is you're going to feel pretty much far away than you ever have in your life. But these porters carry, these big blue barrels, and they should only carry about 50 pounds, but sometimes they'll carry double loads. And the faces. I've got a picture on the screen right now of some of the faces of the porters that posed for me, and they're interesting looking people. Again, super super nice. Any thoughts about the trek in?
Well, it's so what elevations you would fly into Skardu at?
That's a good question. I think you fly in around 10,000, and base camp is around 16,500, a little
Yeah.
lower than Everest Base Camp at 17,500.
Yeah, but definitely way more raw compared to the base camp trek of Everest. I mean, you're like
Exactly.
immediately just on gravel, beaten down paths versus Everest base camp is
Yeah.
nice and fresh.
Yeah, there's no road and quote unquote road path, boot path. You're actually walking on the Baltero Glacier. You can see a picture here of porters walking along that, and if you look carefully, you'll notice that it's really rocks on top of the glacier itself. So you got to
Interesting.
really be careful not to twist an ankle.
That would be tragic. And how many days are you just walking on the glacier for?
You'll do that for 5, 6, 7 days, depends upon your.
Dang. Wow. That's
Yeah,
crazy.
it's a long time, but the good news is that because it takes so long, you're going to slowly acclimatize, and that's really going to make it. Actually, that's why K2 is somewhat of a shorter climb, only a month in the traditional 2 months. However, these days people climb Everest in 3 days, but I don't think you're going to be doing that on K2. This is base camp. It's a traditional base camp, but it is perched on the Baltero Glacier or the Goodwin-Austen Glacier, sorry. And just like on Everest, it's on the Khumbu icefall. This is sitting on a moving glacier. It doesn't move as much as the icefall does or the glacier does on Everest. But once again, you're going to be in these tents. How does that make you
I'm
feel?
honestly I'm honestly a fan. Crazy take, but I actually like tent camping. It always has a nice vibe. I like having, if I have my own tent, if I'm sharing a tent with somebody, it's not the best. But if I'm in base camp, I kind of like to have my own tent. It feels like you're camping, at least at base camp. If
Yeah,
you're on the actual mountain, it's a different story, and you're gonna wish you were in a tea house. But
exactly.
I
Yeah.
actually enjoy tenting.
Yeah, you'll have your own tent at base camp, and then you'll share tents on the upper mountain, starting with
Yep.
advanced base camp to the summit. And actually, on the high camp, you'll probably be three people to a tent, which is always fun. So,
Nice. Got to stay warm.
yeah, get in the middle,
Oh, I will be.
make a Ryan sandwich. Uh, One of the things that I did was went to the Gilkey Memorial. It's about an hour's walk from base camp, south of base camp, K2 base camp on the glacier. And this is a memorial that honors Art Gilkey. That's he. it was something that was coined the Brotherhood of the Rope when he ended up saving the lives of his fellow climbers by doing a self-arrest after everybody started falling and they were all roped together. And Art ended up dying. So they built this memorial, and ever since then, decades ago, that climbers who have died on K2 and Broad Peak and the other areas, they've put up a plaque for them here on the Gilkey Memorial. It's hallowed ground. I highly recommend going there. It's very it's a place where you really begin to understand, not begin to understand, but you can reflect on what you're doing, why you're doing it, and realize that that we climb on the shoulders of legends that have climbed before us. So definitely
Absolutely.
go there. Yeah. Um, Also, I got a really nice picture here of sunset on K2, looking at the magic line. That's the line that's lit up by the sun setting. Again, target-rich environment for videos. Tell us what kind of video cameras you're going to use and what your strategy is for doing the videos.
Well, all it is, I mean, people think that I use some crazy cameras, but all it is my GoPro and my iPhone. That's all I used on Everest. It works perfectly fine. Like you got to keep it lightweight up there. I'm not trying to be lugging up a big DSLR or something. And there's some lightweight weight cameras, but in terms of videoing, you usually want to keep it lightweight. So all it is, actually, I got one right here. Just going to be bringing two of these guys, two GoPros. Makes it pretty easy. Keep them on a little stick so I can get all different angles of me, the climb and everything. And then the phone quality on like iPhones is just so it's as good as cameras now. So you can get just as good of photos as you can compared to like an actual mirrorless camera. So that's it.
One of the
I'm not
part of my career I spent in digital cameras for Hewlett Packard, and that's about the time that the iPhone was coming out, and Samsung and Androids and others. And the magic pixel count was 48 megapixels. And once you hit 48, then you would have the same quality of digital as you did with film. And so now we have that on like the iPhone 16 or any of the Samsung Android cameras. So you're absolutely right. You get the same quality. You can enlarge it, blow it up. I just did befriended a young man named young man, he's 26 years old, Jason Weiss, and he climbed Everest with Alpenglow from the north side, and he's a professional photographer, and he actually took a tripod and his digital SLR up there because he wanted to capture like three frames and then bracket them together using Photoshop or one of the softwares. And he gave me some of his pictures to put on the website, which I did during covering Everest, and they were stunning. But I agree, your pictures on that you took on Everest were just stunning as well. This one I took with a little Canon $300 point and shoot, and I think
it's
it's
good
pretty good.
stuff. Yeah. Yeah, at least for the videos, it's worth it. But if you get a good camera up there and take pictures, you can tell the difference, I'd say.
Yeah, yeah.
Photos, you can tell the difference, but video, it's like most viewers won't be watching YouTube in 4K anyways. They usually watch in 1080. So it's like, I'm not going to go get a 4K camera, bring it up for video. Nobody's going to watch it anyways. And then it's just crushing me.
Yeah, good point. You're going to be taking the Abruzzi route. There's like I don't know 7 or 8 named routes on K2, but the Abruzzi is the main one. It goes up the right hand skyline as you're looking at it. I've got a picture here which shows the camps. K2 base camp is 16,500. Then you go to advanced base camp a couple thousand feet higher, make your way up to Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and then Camp 4. And that's the only place where it's semi-flat, and it's only semi-flat for about a football pitch. The rest of it is steep, 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 and then on up to the summit at 28,251 feet. What goes through your mind when you see this route?
It really is. And when I first saw it, I was thinking, dang, I can't believe that's the standard route for K2. Because it is insane. It's just going up along the ridge right there, straight up it. And yeah, it doesn't let up until Camp 4, like you said. Um, it does definitely is going to work different muscles, a lot more calves. Alan is always telling me, work the calves, and I have been, and you can see why, because there's some of these sections where you're just going to be front pointing, using your calves, ascending those fixed lines, and it's just going to be a suffer fest until you get to camp, and then you get to the camp, and you don't even have space to walk around. It's like you're going to be whipping out a wag bag, trying to find a good spot to go to the bathroom in. It's going to be brutal.
And that's why we do it.
Exactly. Yes.
So here's another picture of base camp. We were pretty lucky. We only got two spats of heavy snow, and it bracketed when we first got there, and then we came back from our first rotation. But otherwise, it was a pretty dry season back in 2014. Who knows what it's going to be, next month because it's weather. But you
Yeah.
start going up. I got a picture here of one of my teammates going up a very steep snow slope between ABC and Camp One. Here's another one of climbers going up, and it's probably a 30 to 40-degree angle, just a smidge more than what you would see on a staircase in your house. And here's Kami with a full pack on. He's navigating, got the fixed line, he's got his Jumar on it. Actually, he doesn't. He's got his carabiner, it looks like. And then but you look down behind him, you can see the Goodwin Austin Glacier. So that gives you an idea of how steep it is and the angle, and you just don't want to slip at all. So I've got a
That is
picture here on the
insane.
screen that from young Ryan. By the way, happy birthday! It was your birthday yesterday or day before?
Yeah. Yeah. Yesterday,
And it
just
turned
turned 21.
21, 21. Oh my
And
gosh, I feel like such an old man. I got socks.
no, come on.
I got
And
socks
well,
older than you.
what's actually funny is, okay, well, I don't know. So I remember you told me so I would be the youngest American to summit if we did, or
I,
has there been younger?
I think you will be. I think you will.
Interesting. Which I always thought was funny because it's like the oldest American is guiding the youngest American to summit K2. So it's now I'm like, okay, now I have to complete the circle here.
And I was told that a 62-year-old woman summited K2 last year, but I've not been able to verify that. So I may have to modify my claim to fame as the oldest male American. So, but Carlos Soria, he's the oldest person. I think he was in his 70s when he summited K2. He's a
Wow.
beast. But
It's never too late.
so I've got a picture of you, Ryan, on a very steep snow slope. It looks like it's perfect training for what you're going to experience on K2. Tell us about this picture and tell us how you've been training for these steep snow slopes.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely okay, first of all, just straight out of K2, ABC to Camp One, like that was some steep stuff that you're just showing. It's so much different than Everest, like just right off the bat, steep. So definitely getting comfortable on steep slopes. And that's one thing I'm like, okay, so I hate skinning. So if I like use my split board and I skin up, I hate it on steep slopes because I'm always slipping. But when I put crampons on, I have really good control at this point. Because it is a lot of footwork. When you have crampons on, the spikes on your boots that keep you attached to the snow, you need to be really good at controlling yourselves and having full focus on your feet. Because if you slip on these slopes, especially in this photo, we're not roped up or anything. So it's really, you're going to have to arrest or you're just going to slip off the entire mountain. So in this photo specifically, it was a peak in Washington called Kaliton Peak. And my friend and I were trying to summit it. We ended up having to turn back because there was a wind slab that had formed, which was a really bummer because we thought the conditions were going to be good, but we didn't want to get thrown off the mountain in a small avalanche. But yeah, it's really just a matter of getting on as many steep slopes as you can with crampons. And it's a matter of focusing on your footwork as best as possible, but also making sure that you're preserving energy. So you have to be comfortable with doing it. Because if you're not comfortable on the slope, you're going to be like super tensed up, using way too much energy. But if you can just really relax on those points, even on a super steep slope, like that picture, I mean, maybe we probably got up to like 40, there's like 45-degree slope at one point, but just comfortable on that, relaxed, ice axe out just in case if you do need to arrest, you can. Just getting the reps in because it really is one of those things that you get comfortable with over time. You're not going to be a pro at ascending steep slope um, with crampons immediately. It takes time to develop for sure.
Yeah, and using all the different types of steps, the side step and kind of the duck step, and different ones, so that you don't overdo those muscles, especially the glutes and the calves. So I'm glad to
Yes.
hear you've been working on your calves. K2 also involves a fair amount of rock climbing, not rock climbing in the sense of like you would see Alex Honnold doing on Yosemite, but there's a fixed line you can see here. Here's my teammate Matt, and that's Garrett up above him. But if you look at those rocks, you know this is going to be crampon on rock, and so you see Matt's got his carabiner attached to it. Matt's or Garrett's got his Jumar attached to it above him. Packs are pretty heavy. See, they're both, you know, I know you said you got a 100 liter pack that you're taking with you. You've got a little 30 Osprey that you're taking to trek in. But yeah, your pack is going to be pretty heavy. You're going to have your down suit and your sleeping bag that you'll carry up to the high camp and leave up there on the first rotation so that when you go back the second time, you'll be able to go ahead and not have to carry that again. But you know, look at this rock climbing. It's pretty serious. It's not,
It
and
is.
this is not even the worst part. The worst part we'll get to in a second is the Black Pyramid. I should say the best part. And I'll say a couple words about that in a second. To your point, Ryan, about there's no real estate on K2, you nailed it. This is a picture of Camp One. There are one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, maybe eight, nine tents all crammed together. They're actually touching. They're so close together. Yeah, there's no privacy here. So, you know, just park your modesty in Washington State and go out and poop in that wag bag and, you know, and go on. What do you think when you see a picture like this of Camp One looking back down on K2 base camp down on the glacier down below?
Well, first of all, if there's a snorer in the camp, I'm gonna have to have a word with him because if there's someone snoring next to me, it's very hard for me to fall asleep. It's just the like infrequent noise is awful for me. But the fact that you can literally see the glaciers, it just shows the steepness. Even on Everest, if you're at Camp One or Two, you cannot see base camp. You cannot see the glacier.
Right.
Even on Camp Three, like even on top of Lhotse Face, and then Camp Four, maybe you could see the glacier better. I think South Col, you might be able to look down on it from all the way up there, but. Yeah, Camp One already being able to see the glacier you came up on and the base camp is pretty wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. Here's another picture of climbing rock. And look at, I think that was Matt. I'm not sure, but look how his toes, the front points are on the rock and his heels are in the air.
That's super steep right there.
Yeah,
And as you were kind of saying, like a lot of people think of, free solo Alex Honnold when they think of rock climbing. The thing is at altitude, you're going to be having these heavy packs, even something like a 5.6 or a 5.7, which, isn't that hard at sea level with no
right,
pack. But when you have packs on, crampons especially, which makes everything super awkward,
right.
it's a whole different game. Like you're using everything. You're like slipping around, they're scraping up against the rock. It's rough.
I know you've talked on some of your videos about looking forward to climbing House's chimney. This is a picture of it, and it's just really it's on the side of a rock wall. And if you look to the right of that climber, you can see some ice pinnacles coming down. You can see the fixed rope kind of at the bottom and at the top. I've got a picture here of me coming up from the bottom that Matt took. There's this ladder called an étalé. I think that's how you pronounce it, probably wrong. I butcher words all the time. But nonetheless,
Same.
don't bother even trying to use that ladder. Just use your climbing techniques, use your stimming, and make sure you're staying clipped in with your Jumar and your safety beaner the whole time up. I'll tell you though, this going through this, you are literally climbing in history because House climbed that. He free climbed it. They looked around for days to try to find a place to get higher up on the mountain. He finally spotted this crack, this off-width crack, and he free climbed it. And that's what we use today. So once again, climbing on the shoulders of the legends before us.
That
Does
is
this,
absolutely insane. Yeah.
this looks like fun?
Honestly, it's gonna be a suffer fest, but it does look fun. And I wish I had gotten some. I've been doing a lot of rock climbing around here, but this is Alma de Blanc would have been perfect to prepare for this, such as the Yellow Tower
Yellow
on Alma de
Tower.
Blanc. But
Right.
if anybody watched my videos, you know how unfortunate that trip was. Didn't even get past Camp One because of the weather. But that would have been perfect training for this because of the heavy pack and the rock on crampon or crampon on rock.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you learned a lot on Amon Blanc, so it certainly was not a failure. It was a non-summit.
Yes, yes. Let's say that's some coping right there, but
Now that's called rationalization.
yes, yes.
This is a picture I took of Camp 2 through a telescope from base camp. And I took this mainly to show people how steep it is and how Camp 2 is just perched right there on the side of the mountain. It is phenomenally steep in this section. And this next picture I'm showing shows a picture of a shredded tent. And that's pretty much what Camp 2 represents in terms of danger. If you leave your tent pitched and you go back down to base camp and waiting for the summit window, high probability you're going to come back and find it shredded. So the best practices are to take your tent down, collapse it, and if you, a lot of people bring mesh and put a mesh cover over it so that the winds won't blow it away. Because you're typically going to leave, like I said earlier, your sleeping bag and your down suit and stuff in it. So, if all that stuff blows away, your climb is gone. So at this point, I want you to talk a little bit about Garrett Madison's foundation and about cleaning up the mountain, because sadly, K2 has become not as bad, but close to some of the problems that we've seen on the other 8,000-meter mountains with the trash, the shredded tents, the human feces, things like that. And I know Garrett has started a foundation, so please talk about that with us.
Yeah, of course. So I'm climbing with Madison Mountaineering too, so it works out perfectly. But Garrett's foundation, the Madison Mountaineering Foundation, is they take donations, which I encourage all of you to donate because it's going to be helping us out a ton while we're there. But they take donations and they use that to go clean up and restore the environments on these mountains. So they've done a ton, like tons of base camps. They've done Everest Base Camp. They've done the camps on Annapurna. Basically, just going out there and doing cleanup missions, and the money helps that they get for donations to hire porters because like there can literally be thousands of pounds of trash. Like that might not look like a lot of trash in that picture, but it actually weighs a lot. So you need a lot of manpower to be able to carry that out from base camp or wherever you bring it down to. And yeah, the Madison Mountaineering Foundation, we're going to be fingers crossed going up to the higher camps hopefully, but if not, at least base camp, cleaning up a bunch of trash as however much we can and with the resources that we have. But yeah, it's super awesome to see that there's actually restoration projects like this because the trash is super annoying. When I got to Camp 4 on Everest, it was like, dude, what is going on here? It smelled horrible. It kind of took away that experience that you get when one of the best things I love about just camping in the woods or on a random peak like Mount Baker is you just have such a beautiful campsite. You can enjoy it with your friend or whoever you're there with. It's clean. You can listen to the environment. But when you're at Camp 4, when we first walked in, it like legitimately smelled. And I smelled and I didn't smell anything because my nose was all blocked up for the last like week. So it's like, this is crazy. So I think it's just doing not only the mountain a favor, but everybody else who's climbing it to at least try to get some of that trash out of there. And hopefully, like, I think there is an aspect where you see people cleaning up trash, and then you look at what if you've left anything or what you're doing, and you might not think that you're doing enough. Like, hopefully, it just sets an example to encourage people who not only are leaving trash up there to not leave trash up there, but also just if you see trash, then leave the place in a better state than when you found it. So
The principle called "leave no trace," and I love the little saying of "leave only footprints and take only pictures." So
yes,
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, leave the mountain cleaner than you found it. So I think that's great what you're doing and what Garrett's doing and the whole team. So best of luck with that cleanup. When I was there in 14, there was a the Pakistani team went through and cleaned out a lot of the old ropes. They brought down, hundreds of pounds of old fixed ropes. But you'll be amazed. I'll show you a picture in a second of some fixed ropes that will just blow your mind. But this next section, I've got up a picture of it. It's called the Black Pyramid. It's about 2,000 feet of mid fifth class rock climbing between 22 and 24,000 feet. There's a fixed line. There's also a couple of ladders in there, which surprised me because it was so steep and sort of like the second step on Everest on the north side. But I got to tell you, Ryan, this was some of the most fun I've ever had in my life. This section right here. I just remember laughing out loud at how much fun I was having climbing this section.
had a nice 22,000 feet.
Yeah, I didn't laugh very much because I couldn't breathe, but but the thing is that I've got a picture of what's called veriglass, is ice over rock. And I got to tell you, when you go through, when your crampons hit this, you're going to scratch, you're going to slip. This is where the calves and the glutes really come into play. And again, always be clipped into that fixed rope. This Veriglass can be really, really dangerous. Do you have any experience on this?
Interesting. I don't think so.
Yeah, it's hard to get experience on Veriglass at altitude here in the United States. Closest you can get maybe some if you get off route on Rainier or Denali.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because really, the only place where you have anything similar to this on Everest, and there wasn't any of that, but is the Yellow Band, I guess, right? Like that's really the only rock that you end up crossing on
Yeah, and if it's a low
Everest.
snow year, maybe the Southeast Ridge. There's plenty of rock on the north side. I mean, that's probably the
Oh,
primary difference between north and south. Another
yep.
picture of a climber climbing up the Black Pyramid. You can see they've got their down suit on. They've got mountaineering boots, crampons. They're clipped into the fixed rope. Here's another really good picture that shows and all these pictures just show the climbers' butts. You ever notice that all climbing pictures are really butt shots? So
I'm always recording it. Don't worry. It makes for the best photos. You can't be in the front.
that's
Well, you can't be in the front, but you can turn it around. But that's the greatest view.
But look at his feet, look at his boots. Again, he's on his toes. The I think it's a he, maybe it could be a she. Hard to tell on down suit, but yeah, you can just see the feet just floating in the air like that. Again, clipped into the
Yeah,
rope. So here
locked
you are.
in.
Here you are, a picture of you climbing, and this is rock climbing. And tell us where you are on climbing rock here.
Yeah, so this was probably the most fun rock climbing adventure I've had. There's this place called Smith Rock in Oregon, and it has so many different rock climbs. It's definitely one of the most iconic rock climbing spots in America. But this was the first time I was leading trad.
Nice.
So there's no trad leading on K2. The ropes are already there. And you're not placing cams on K2 either, right? But in this case, because it's just rock, you place protection in these pieces or in these like cracks of rocks essentially. And then you put the rope through those, just two-man teams, and then that kind of acts as your protection. So you're fixing a rope, but you're placing your own protection, sort of, which basically is a whole different mental game compared to climbing on a fixed rope or just not on a slope that you can fall on because when you're in a position where you're leading such as yeah that's a good picture right there, that's a lot steeper there.
Yeah, this is
If
a
you've
picture of Ryan. He's stemming, which means he's got his feet spread apart and spreading his weight on each foot against two sides of a crack going up a vertical wall on a mountainside.
Yeah. So yeah, that's on trad lead. So technically, if I fell, I have protection placed beneath me that theoretically, if I placed the
Theoretically.
proper cam, it would stop me from falling. But that protection can always pop out, and then I could take a big fall, take a whipper, as they call it, and that's very bad news. So trad leading is probably like one of the most dangerous things that you can do in the realm of climbing to an extent. I mean, of course, there's free soloing, but it's you got to be on edge when you're doing it. But the good thing about it is it really does get you in this no fall headspace where like it's if I fall, if I do something I'm not comfortable with, or if I do something wrong here, then things could go very badly. And it kind of keeps I always have this headspace where I need to remember, like, I'm not invincible. Something could go seriously wrong here. So I can't fall and I have to do something I'm comfortable with and capable of. So that was a big mental insights I gained from trad leading, such
You
as in
know,
these pictures.
I like the way that you frame that because I think there's always a little fear, a little apprehension when you're, going up a really steep wall like this, or when we get to the picture of the traverse going up to the summit of K2, we could have exactly the same conversation about that section. But fear harnessed properly can be a really good motivator. But also, I mean, you've got to be in the moment on these things. You can't be thinking about, what are you going to have for dinner or coulda, woulda, shoulda 2 weeks ago. You've got to be focused in that moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you really do have to. You kind of get into that Zen-like state, though. I think a lot of guys talk about that where they're
Absolutely.
just focused on their breathing in the moment.
So what I got a picture here on the screen is it literally is a spider web of old and new fixed ropes. And the secret here is that you don't want to clip into an old rope because after about 2 or 3 months in the sunlight, the UV rays will actually weaken that rope and it'll lose half or more of its strength. So if you were depending upon that rope and you fell, that rope will likely snap and you'll fall to your death. So the key here is that when you come up, follow the latest line going in. Ideally, they make it a different color, but normally they don't. This is often jokingly called Korean cord. It looks like a ski rope, but I mean, look at this spider web. It's just
Yeah.
insane.
It's messy, yeah. And that's the interesting thing about fixed lines too, is you have to hope that of course you have to make sure you're clipping into the right line. So that's at least on Amid Blanc, we were told, and I think you might have told me, clip as many lines as
Yeah.
possible for your safety carabiner.
When in
Because
doubt,
if
flipping at all of them.
Exactly, because if that line you're on fails, and this could be for a multitude of reasons. There's a story on Ama de Blanc where some lady was ascending and someone hit the rope with their crampon and she just flew off, right? So it's a scary thing where fixed lines are so much safer and versus leading on trad, for example, like I was just talking about, like usually the fixed line will save you. You don't want to fall on it, but it will usually save you. But there is that chance that it could have been set up wrong or you're on an old rope or something like that.
Right.
And, you can't trust this thing that you're ultimately putting your life on. Versus, I guess if you're free soloing, it's all on you. Or if you're in a rope team, you're placing the protection. You can deduce if this ice is stable enough or this rock is firm enough for protection. So it's kind of spooky.
Also, you'll see the use of what are called V threads, where they put in using an ice screw, two holes at a 45-degree angle. They meet, and then you weave through a little bit of a nylon webbing, and then you tie into that. And these things are always interesting to me because you look at that and you think there's no way that can hold. But when I climbed Alpamayo in Peru, climbed with Sammy, and he put in V threads the entire time. We never used ice screws. Crazy.
Yeah, they're pretty bomber. They're not bad as long as the ice quality is good.
So we've gone from base camp up to camp two. Now went through the Black Pyramid. We got to camp three. Camp three offers stunning views of Broad Peak. I mean, it's just out of this world. And then from camp three, it's a pretty gentle day going from 3 to 4. You're going from 24,000 to 25,000, and then you arrive at camp four, the high camp at a little over 25,000 feet, about 7,600 meters. Here I am in my down suit with my harness and everything on, doing my best Fonzie imitation. You'll notice that the gloves I'm wearing, they're actually the same gloves I have hanging on the wall behind me that I have in the picture. It was a pair of North Face, just leather gloves lined with, I think, 100 milligrams of Thinsulate. And that's the only glove I ever use. I never use mittens or anything else on K2. Because one of the things is that you manipulate the beaners and the ascender, the Jumar, all the time. So having dexterity in your fingers. I know you've got the Mountain Hardwear Guide Glove, which is a pretty good glove as well. I also noticed that you have the Hestra liner, which is a fantastic liner. That's really the secret of keeping your hands warm is a really good liner. But you can see Camp 4, pretty flat. It looks pretty easy, doesn't it?
From then on, yeah, it's a nice, easy day out.
And if you look
No,
at the very top of the screen, right above the M and 7,600 meters, you can see a little thin line of people. That's a line of about 30 people going up to the summit from the previous day. And they actually were fixing the lines as they were climbing. And we were very grateful to them because they fixed the ropes for us and we took advantage of it the next day. So, teamwork makes the dream work.
Yep, respect. No, Camp 4 to the Summit is one of the coolest, for sure the coolest days. Like what you're about to go up against is pretty gnarly.
And the other thing that I want to point out in this picture is this. I don't know if you move the cursor around it, but obviously, sorry about people just listening to this audio. Look at the video. This is this giant ice serac. This thing is around 300 feet high, about 100 meters. And this part the very, very tiny part of it calved off in 2008, and that was one of the worst disasters in K2 history. I think it killed around 11 people, including one of my friends I climbed on Broad Peak with. So this is really the biggest objective danger. One thing we haven't talked about on K2 are the objective dangers, and it really is rockfall, avalanche, snow, ice falling on top of you. The rockfall is really the biggest one because you climb under other people that are above you, and often they inadvertently, accidentally will kick rock. There's a lot of loose rock on K2. So, man, make sure you've got a great helmet.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually just made a video talk about how I'm training for K2. And that's like part of the reason why I do a lot of strength training is want to get some dense muscle protecting these bones because that is one of the scariest things on any climbing trip, right? It doesn't matter how fit you are, it doesn't matter how good of a climber you are. There's always those risks where the Serac could collapse or a random rock could just trundle out of nowhere, and you got to be ready to dodge it if you even can. So
Yeah.
super scary stuff, and those are for sure more prominent on K2 compared to Everest because Everest you got the Khumbu Icefall and maybe lines, but other than that, like most of it is in your hands.
Yeah, oddly enough, there's very little objective danger on at least on the Nepal side. The Pet side is a little bit different again. Yeah, Kami got hit by a rock on a couple of years after we summited, and it dislocated his left shoulder and actually just ripped his skin. He had to have major reconstructive surgery from that, and he had no idea it was coming. It just came out of nowhere, and just bam, took him out.
Yeah, that's not a good place to have that happen. Good thing he's out safe now.
So you'll do the normal summit on an 8,000 meter mountain where you go to bed around 6 o'clock and you get up around 11 o'clock, maybe midnight, depending upon the weather conditions and how the team is feeling. You don your headlamps. You're not tied together. You're clipped into the fixed line, and you start climbing in the middle of the night, and you're just going step by step. Hopefully you go get through the bottleneck without any problems. Garrett likes to go to the climber's right over a little rock buttress and avoid that gully, which is really a bowling alley for a loose rock. And then you turn left and go across the traverse. But here I am waving on my way up, which is crazy because I wasn't feeling great. So I don't know what.
You always got some energy in for a nice photo wave. Come on.
Yeah, it's a photo op. You got to take advantage of them. But
It's sick.
you can see how steep this is. We had about a foot of fresh snow the night before, so that made that actually glued the rocks in, but it also made for a little bit of not post holing, but it was up to our ankles, maybe our calves in the loose snow. So this is crossing across. I got a picture here of a vertical wall, and I think this is Garrett, and going. I think he's going down in this picture. But on this one, you go across the traverse, and recent pictures I've seen have a little bit of a kind of a sidewalk carved out in it. When we did it, we were literally our front points were into the wall, heels just floating in the air, clipped into this little placebo fixed line that I knew that if that thing broke, then I was done for because I had no confidence that rope was going to hold me. But in this picture, you can see, the glacier down below. If you look carefully to the right, you can see the Camp 4, the tents of Camp 4. And this is the real deal. This is the crux.
That's it right there. That's all. That's what all there's so many of these edits, like these K2 TikTok, Instagram edits, and it's like the bottleneck, the Serac. It's like this is where it is right here. This is what you're waiting for.
Yeah,
Actually, when I did Mount Everest, there's like a feeling you get when you see such a feature that, and I'm sure you've had this on so many peaks where you see like an iconic feature and like, oh my gosh, there it is. I'm like right beneath it. It was like coming up on what's left of the Hillary Step, and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's it right there. That's what you see in the pictures. I
yeah.
know it's just going to be the same thing when I see the big ice wall, the traverse, the bottleneck.
I had that feeling mostly on House's Chimney when I got there. That's when I just stopped and looked at it and I went, God, Alan, do you know how lucky you are to be here? I mean, I was overwhelmed with gratitude that I was able to do this because for someone like me growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, I mean, we don't do this kind of stuff. So
Yeah. I
especially,
think I sh shedded a tear when I saw House's Chimney. I mean, not House's Chimney. Pillar step.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like, dang.
Yeah, I know. I had the same feeling when I climbed it. That was back pre-avalanche or pre-earthquake, and it was really kind of like House's Chimney. It was kind of an off-width crack, but nonetheless,
Yeah.
you'll get across this section and you'll stop and kind of do a little say a little silent prayer. This picture actually was taken by Eli Slacki. I think I pronounced his last name correctly, but this really shows you how steep this section is and how dangerous it is with that giant
Oh
ice
my
wall above you.
gosh.
Yeah.
That is nuts. I mean, seriously. What a great photo, but like that doesn't even look real, you know? Like
Look down below the climber. Look how steep that is.
I know, I know. Don't worry, you don't gotta tell me. I see.
And the Sherpas go across it, and the Pakistani they call them high altitude porters. They should call them high altitude workers or something. Anyway, both Pakistani and Nepali Sherpas they'll basically lead in putting in ice screws to attach the rope during this section. Again, climbing on the shoulders of others. But this is a fantastic photo. Speaking of fantastic photos, here you are doing some real ice climbing. You got your front points in, you got your heels. Your heels should be flat, Ryan.
They should be flat. Okay, yes. Okay, this photo. So this is Bridal Veil Falls in Colorado. And I
Yeah.
know my heels are up a little bit because I was like genuinely like that smile is not real, dude. I was struggling. This was like pretty close to the top of the pitch. So there's four pitches, and the third one was this sheer vertical overhanging in some part, blue ice. Like it was beautiful, right? But I made a video of this. It's definitely like the hardest like technical climb I guess I've done. Obviously, I'm following it, so I'm on rope, right? There's no
Top rope.
major risk of me falling. Justin led the routes once again, madman. But yeah, this was the third pitch, and I hadn't done a lot of ice climbing it yet, and my hands were just destroyed. Like they were gripping on for life. So there's a few times where I had to take, and then these guys were coming off and got this picture of me, but I was struggling here. So I was kind of just gripping on for dear life. But yeah, usually you would want to have your hips in like that, but you'd want to have good footwork with those crampons and be able to kind of balance on everything, assuming you have strength.
So what I'm hearing you say is that this was fear over form.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I had to actually dig. You can watch the video. I am like grunting every 2 seconds. Like genuinely, I was like, Justin, you're just gonna have to lower me. I can't, my hands are giving in. I can't make it up. But it was weirdly one of those times where I didn't expect it to be this hard and I had to dig so deep with my hands, but it really was like mind over matter. We gotta keep pushing through this. Even if I had to take a few times, I still pushed myself for sure.
This is outstanding training for what you're going to experience on K2. I mean, I'm just really happy that you've got the rock and the ice, as well as the snow slope. Really just done an outstanding job of preparing yourself this past year.
Yeah, and some other good training similar to that, which is great. But I think I talked about the Northridge of Baker. We just did that. So you're ice climbing up. We took a pretty good line that was like near vertical glacier ice, climbing up that really solid execution. And then the Couts on Rainier is another one where you're really,
Yeah.
you're using ice axes for those, but you still got to focus on those crampons and footwork, which is key as we were talking about with the steep snow. Like if your feet are in good, you're in a good spot. Like you can
Yeah,
stay.
you even though even like in a picture like this where you're using your ice axe, you're climbing with your legs. It's your legs that move you higher, not your arms. And if you find yourself
Exactly.
jogging on the line with the ascender, then stop and reset. Just take a breath, take a beat, and then remember you climb with your legs. So
It's so true. Yeah, I tell people like they'll look at me, I'll tell them like, yeah, I climb mountains here and there, and they'll be like, you got some big legs for a climber, because people expect like big hands,
yeah,
strong forearms and stuff, but no, I got some giga quads right here because that's what we're using out there.
pretty good quads. You ought to trademark that. So here's the last few steps to the summit of K2. The little bitty tiny, about the size of your little finger fixed line. The last few steps are about a 20-degree angle, so it's pretty mellow. And then here's a video of being on the summit. I think I've got some audio here, which I'm going to stop before it gets going. But look at the view. It's just a 360
Yeah.
degree looking back into Pakistan, down on the Goodwin Austen and the Baltero Glacier, some unnamed, unclimbed peaks all around there, and then swinging back and looking into China. It's just, and there's Broad Peak right there. Really can't really see it that
Yeah.
well. But
And what were you feeling? What were you feeling as you were stepping on to the summit here? It looks like a beautiful day out, but I'm sure you were gassed.
yeah, yeah. I'm going to stop the video right there. So, Ryan, I had a number of emotions going on. One of it was I was incredibly grateful, that Kami was with me, Garrett was with me, Matt. We had Kami Rita Sherpa, who just got his 31st summit of Everest, and then Furkatcha. It was just this little team of about 6 people, and then Sammy from Finland, who tragically passed away on Annapurna the next year from a slab avalanche giving away. He had summited just moments behind us, but he climbed entirely unsupported and without supplemental oxygen. He was a beast, really
That's
inspiration.
savage.
But he was the one I summited Alpamayo with. But my emotions were all over the map. I was grateful. I was thinking about my mom. We raised about $70,000 for Alzheimer's research with this K2 climb. So that was my why, and that was what propelled me to keep going. I've told the story before, I won't repeat it here, but about I did develop high altitude pulmonary edema. So my body was failing on me. And so I began to think about, can I even get down? Garrett wanted us to go all the way down to Camp 2, and I couldn't go further than Camp 3. I was literally empty because I couldn't breathe.
Yeah. No,
But
that sounds
I,
madness.
any guesses of what your emotions will be when you summit K2?
Well, okay, when is a better way to describe it? Because, I don't want people to think that this is like, we're gonna summit K2, right? Because you never should have that mindset. It might not work out, but mountain's always there. I'd go back. So it's not a if, it is a when, I'd say. But yeah, I think when I got to the top of Everest, or when I knew I was going to summit, I actually was emotionally more compelled, I guess, when I knew I was going to make it. When we were like 30 minutes from the top of Everest, I was like, oh my gosh, like this is it.
Yeah, I think you
Then
said
you get
once
to
you
the
got
summit.
past the Hillary step, then you knew you were going to make it, and that's when it hit you.
Yeah, exactly. So I was feeling good, and I was so happy about that. But the summit is great, but like you just said, you're so tired now. You're like, okay, now we got to go back down. Um, so for me, I usually end up saving like the positive emotions, like text my family, text them all when I'm actually back in base camp and safe, because as we all know, most of the bad stuff happens on the way down. So it's important to stay focused. But of course, it's like rejoice, celebrate with the team if the weather's nice, and I'm sure I'll be happy about it.
Oh, I'm sure you will be. And it is interesting that often it hits you days later about what you accomplished because you are very focused on the details and getting back down safely from the summit. But just give yourself permission to take that beat, to take that moment. Um,
Yes, exactly.
hug your Sherpas and hug your teammates and make that, I always took a satellite phone with me, so I always called home or also called my website. In fact, I may attach to this end of this podcast the 30-minute documentary that I made on climbing K2 that's on YouTube. That's the one I have that has a lot of hits on it. I'm
It does.
still not making as much money as you do. I'm doing something wrong.
Hey, come on.
That's the summit of it. Here you are on the summit of some random mountain. I don't know what it is, but I threw this into the deck because I wanted people to see you standing on the top of some mountain somewhere. Where is this?
Well, it's hard to tell because it's literally just a mountain of rocks and gravel, but that's Aconcagua.
Ah, okay, it is Aconcagua. All right, that's 23,000 feet.
Yeah.
You're smiling there.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean that was my second time doing it. So I went back to Aconcagua despite it being a literal rock. Like I don't think I would climb Aconcagua again. But the reason I wanted to do it was because on my second time I did it solo and self-supported, so no porters or anything, which was super awesome. Like I'm glad I took that step for to kind of improve, handle myself at these altitudes. And it was like a good feeling, knowing that you got up there and it was just all on you. So it was a good time, but yeah, boring mountain.
I had forgotten that you did Aconcagua a second time. Yeah. Well, you look strong there. You look strong and confident. So
We had a good day. It was only a 10-hour day from Camp 2 to Summit and back, 10 hours. So
yeah, you just recently did your Mount, what is it, Sai?
yeah, yeah, wait, hold on. There's window cleaners and they just happen to be cleaning my window right now, which is funny. But hopefully there's no banging, but if there's banging, that's what it is. But
Uh,
yeah, what about Mount Si?
no banging, no barking. You just did it a few days ago. You went 5,000 feet in 1 hour, 12 miles.
Oh yeah, yesterday. I went for a PR on Mount Si, which is just a classic Mount Washington or Washington State's. It's not a climb or anything. It's more so a hike. But it's 3.2 thousand feet and 3.8 miles. I
Okay.
did it in less than an hour, so not super fast, but it's pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, I love how you narrated it though. You were like going, I feel strong. And then by the time you were like 59 minutes and 12 seconds, you're going, I'm going to die.
I know it was bad, dude. Like, the last 10 minutes I was fighting. I was dying.
But that's exactly again the type of training. I know you've also done. We talked about this a lot. The back-to-back training days, where you go do something for 5 hours, come down and refuel and rehydrate, and then go do it again, and measuring how well you're recovering. So again, your training I think has just been off the charts, exceptional. Well done.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if the legs were tired from yesterday, of course today, but we still got out for 10 miles before this podcast here. But really it is like I think that's the ultimate form or telling of how fit you are is if you can recover overnight from a long day.
Absolutely.
And that can only be done through just forcing the legs to work, even if they're tired or even if they're fatigued. And the body adapts, which is super interesting in that regard. So they'll kind of learn over time that okay, we do this every single day.
We've talked about this before, and everybody has their own way of training. Some people love CrossFit, some people like Orange, some people, just go to the gym, get on a Stairmaster. A lot of it also depends upon where you live and how much time that you have. You and I have been fortunate that we had both the time and the access to high mountains. But in my opinion, I think you've adopted the same philosophy that real world climbing is the best way to train for climbing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you just don't get back in Massachusetts, I would go up Mount Wachusett forever throughout the day, like up and down, minimum 6 hours on certain days, some days 12 hours with a heavy pack. But you still don't get, when you're on an actual climb, you're actually working so many different muscles than you would if you're just going up and down a hike. Because, like you were saying, you have different cramponing technique. You're working small muscles in your legs or your calves that you wouldn't normally work. So it is super important to try to get some real mountain experience where your body is drained, the sun is hitting you, you're out for a long time, it's cold or it's extremely hot.
Yep, exactly. So here I am on the summit of K2 with a picture of Ida Arnett. That's my mom, and
Nice.
that's my wife. And I summited on my birthday, my 58th birthday, July 27th. So I hope you have a beautiful day like we did. And
That
just to
looks beautiful.
take you back, Ryan, you posted two pictures, and if you people have listened to this on audio, you've got to see this video because this is Ryan under 18 years old. He's got a little flab going, and so I want to show you how far you've come. And this is him just absolutely ripped with these bicep guns going. He's got the six pack in the abdomen. His hair's still kind of funky, but your hair's kind of funky today because you got funky
It
hair.
is. It is. I'm getting a haircut this Friday, don't worry. Yeah,
But
that's
it's
that's that's Minecraft YouTuber versus mountain climber right there.
Yeah, let's go back. Here we go. We got YouTuber, climber.
Yeah, exactly. And to be fair, like I wasn't too big in the other one, but my fitness was just not there at all. So in the second one, that was before Everest, that second one, I think, right before. So,
Yeah. And you're probably even more ripped now, like you said. You're probably in better shape now than you were.
ooh, the Patagonia fleece ain't coming off, but there's some pictures out there if people are curious.
All right. TMI, TMI. Well, we're going to take your word for it. All right, we're going to wrap this up. We've gone a long time. I hope people enjoyed this, actually seeing what you're going to go do. I know you're just going to blow our socks off with, with the videos and your whole tracking your experience and recording your experience. Do you have a goal to make it better than you did on Everest?
Oh, absolutely. In terms of the filming?
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, since I recorded on Everest, it really is a learning game. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me who have tried recording their own climbs or their own adventures, and they're saying, you know, like, okay, this is a bit harder than I expected. And if you watch my videos from while I was posting on Everest, I was mostly recording with my phone. I had the GoPro on the head, but I didn't have a setup where,
yeah.
I can walk and I have the GoPro out like this and easily record myself or anything like that. I was using my phone, but I was way more camera shy for sure because I never really recorded my face too much. And it is a learning game of knowing what to say in a sense, but really it is just act like you're talking to a friend. And my main goal every single time I make a video is I want it to feel like the viewer is along for the journey as much as possible. Like they're right next to me, climbing this peak with me. And I think that's the number one thing that I've just improved on since Everest. I think I had that mindset when I was on Everest, but now at least like my confidence in front of the camera, knowing what to say, knowing what to document, keeping the camera steady has ultimately improved.
Yeah.
So, and that's just through doing it so many times. I mean, I've gotten reps in since Everest. So,
That one of the things I thought you did particularly well on your Everest videos was that you did not over narrate it. Often people tend to talk way too much and not let the picture tell the story. And a lot of times you were just quiet and you just let the picture tell the story. And I thought that was great.
hey, I get comments sometimes and people are like, stop showing your face. We just want to see the climb. So some people would argue otherwise, but it's like, hey, if you just want to see the climb, go climb it yourself. No one's stopping you, man. Come on.
It's a free world. Go. All
Yeah.
right, Ryan. Hey, happy birthday again. Best of luck, best of success for a positive experience. You know that we all want you to get the summit and come home safely because you're deeply admired and loved around the world, and we appreciate all the effort do to bring us into this world. It's a world that I love. It's a world that's changed my life for the better. And I think you're on that same journey as well. And if I can say this, I could not be more proud of you. So thank you for
Thank
everything
you.
you're doing.
Thank you. It really does mean a lot. And obviously, shout out to you because I've talked about this in some of my other videos. But if I hadn't reached out to you and you were open to giving me guidance and everything, I don't know where I would have been. I could still just be Minecrafting away. I would have been turned away from the whole idea of climbing. And you kind of brought that to life for me ever since the start. So thank you.
My honor, I appreciate it. And always here for you, my friend. All right. Take care. Climb
Yeah.
on.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you later. After K2, we're getting back on.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Ryan. He's such a great young man, and we all wish him the best on K2. What follows is a 30-minute documentary that I made on my climb of K2 back in 2014. If you haven't seen it, you might enjoy to see what Ryan has in store. Thanks a lot. Okay, July 22nd, 2014. We're on our summit push. We just came out from Advanced Base Camp. We're up here taking off a few layers. Hey guys, where are we going? K2! All right, climb on. So I'm going K2?
Yes.
Yeah.
You are going with... No. I am there duty there, sir. Please, let's go.
Okay. Life is full of small steps. And now we're about to get on the airplane to head up to Skardu. Wow. Skardu. Look at these mountains just looming here above the airport. Just an awesome, awesome scene. We're kind of walking through what's called the bazaar. This is the general market, and you know, pretty much you can buy just about anything that you want here. So this is Kami.
Where are you from?
So Kami and I summited Everest together in 2011.
Oh, great.
Strongest Sherpa ever. Okay, so the highlight of the day so far is that everybody's gotten popsicles. Everybody's enjoying their popsicle.
Skardu. Skardu.
We're in Skardu.
Skardu. Concordia Hotel, Skardu.
Well, okay, I guess there we have it. Let's look at the map here and really make sure where we are. And it looks like that we are in Skardu. So we're here just in a beautiful area next to the river and some awesome mountains. And we're here next to the hotel in the garden area. And these are the Jeeps that we're going to use to go up and go ahead and head on up to Ascoli. And you can tell these things are really tricked out. These drivers are incredibly proud of them. They keep them perfectly clean, they buff them up. And so these are some of the folks around here. Hello, sir. And all our gear goes in these less glamorous vehicles. You know, pile it all up here. But you can see these things, they are just unbelievably tricked out. So they got chrome on the engine. All you gearheads out there, you'll love this. Here, let me show you the inside of one of these babies. So we'll actually sit back here in the back, and hopefully these curtains will be up so we get some fresh air in here. But some of these things don't have curtains on them. So here's the inside of one of them. The road itself that we'll be on is unbelievably bumpy and dirty and dusty, and we'll be in these things for like the next 8 hours today.
Where are we going?
Where are you taking these guys? Where are you going?
He doesn't know. Ascoli.
Ascoli. Window there. Without moving. Dance a little bit. Come on, man. Okay, so here's the problem. You see the rock is actually coming down this slope, and what's happened is it's come down, it's made the whole rock, the area, wow, these are big rocks now coming down, and it's made the entire road way too narrow for the Jeep to get through. So here we are in Ascoli, and these are the porters starting to gather very early. We still have over an hour to go, but they're gathering to get work. So everything is weighed by hand here, a little hand scale, including all these little wooden boxes that have mostly food in it, it looks like. But the porter won't carry more than about 25 kilograms.
Okay.
Johnny ho!
Johnny ho! Johnny ho!
I'm back to attempt K2. I'm back here to honor Mom and my aunts and everybody else with Alzheimer's. I have a mission, I have a cause, and that cause will push me further and harder than I've ever pushed in my life. And if there's any doubt that we were on a glacier, this is actually ice here underneath the dirt.
Everything clean, you know? Yeah. All the insects and
Well, it's July 7th, 2014. We're at the Goro 2 camp, and just a beautiful, beautiful morning. We had a light dusting of snow overnight, and today we're going to head up to Concordia and then over to Broad Peak Base Camp, where we'll spend the night. Okay, beautiful, beautiful morning here. This is looking towards Concordia. The big mountain that you see looming right there, that is called G4, or Gasherbrum 4. These guys are helping each other on the loads. There goes Connie jumping down. Look at this. Well, it's July 8th, 2014, and we're here at Broad Peak Base Camp. Got in last night, and it was totally cloudy, but look what we see this morning. There it is. There's K2. Oh my gosh, look at how big that mountain is. It is 13,000 feet from where I'm standing to the summit, and it might as well be 13 miles or 13,000 miles. It's a huge mountain. We'll be taking probably the Abruzzi Spur. That's the route, the ridge on the far right-hand side of the mountain. I'll zoom in there. You can kind of get a little bit of a feel for it as much as I can with this camera. Go up and we'll hit the shoulder up there and then go on up to the summit. There's the summit. I'll zoom in on that a little bit. You really can't see that big old Serac as clearly as I'd like to, but it's up there and it's waiting for us. Okay, we're approaching K2 Base Camp. It's down here at the bottom on the moraine of the Goodwin-Austen Glacier. You can see it's really just carved out on top of the rocks. Lots of tents here. So I'm at the Gilkey Memorial on K2. This is really hallowed ground. A lot of plaques are up here to honor climbers who have died climbing K2. They have a beautiful view. There's K2. There's K2 Base Camp down there. Let's walk up. You can see some of the plaques. Sadly, there's too many up here. A lot of them have names that are carved into metal plates. Some of them have pictures. Some are very sophisticated. Some are very simple and very old. Some have worn away. And then there's some that are brand new. I'm going to carefully make my way around to one that's very special to me. That's to my friend, Pierre McDonald. Died in 2008, trying to save the lives of others. Rest in peace, buddy. We miss you. We love you. Okay, it's July 11th, 2014, and this is a very important day. It's an auspicious day on the Buddhist calendar, and hence we're going to have our puja this morning before we start heading up. Thank you so much. Okay, we're getting everything prepared to go up for our first rotation. Looking at a lot of different food here.
Okay. Good.
Yep. You got the Sherpa coffee? Got the Sherpa coffee?
Yes, Sherpa coffee in here.
There. Sherpa coffee.
Cappuccino.
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 Okay, on the way to ABC for our first rotation up to Camp 1 and hopefully Camp 2.
And some money. Then he said, okay.
I think he's okay. We'll confirm with Yara.
Yeah. Okay.
He should be good to go.
Then yeah.
We're about 17,500 feet between ABC and Camp 1. That's Matt up there. You can see this is pretty steep, and it gets even steeper. I would say right now it's around 40 degrees, and it'll increase to around 50 to 60 here shortly. Looking back down, there's Garrett and Rick coming up. If you look out, you can see Camp or ABC tent down there.
It appears that we have a nice Molestero blade here, and here we have whatchamacallit, my mind's gone, some type of, anyway, very secure pitons. Then we have a variety of knots, fishermen's, have a figure of 8, and then it looks like there's a figure of 8 with some type of backup here, and they've equalized anchors very nicely. It's confidence inspiring. If you worry about this whole thing flaking off, you probably shouldn't be here. Geology in action.
So you trust your life to this setup?
I do this particular one, I guess. I have no choice. I didn't get to inspect it before I got up here.
And we're going to keep on heading up, and you can see this is the way to Camp 1. It's up there just below those 3 black gendarmes that you see sticking up. It's probably another 2 hours for us. It's July 13th, 2014. This is Camp 1 at about 20,000 feet on K2. As you can see, it's really, really tight up here. And it's really steep
coming up from Advanced Base Camp. It took us about 5 hours to get up here on the first rotation, which, you know, is not great, but it's not bad at all. But swinging around, you can see the Goodwin-Austen Glacier. And as I swing up towards Camp 2, you know, this is the reason that all these tents are all crowded together. Is unbelievably steep, and it just goes straight up. House's Chimney's up there, the Black Pyramid's up there, and that'll be our next destination.
Well, hey everybody, this is Alan from K2 Base Camp. It's July 21st, leaving tomorrow morning, head up to K2. You know, this is what we've been working for, so you guys know what this is all about, and I appreciate all your support. Appreciate you coming along with me to the top, hopefully. All right, climb on. This is Alan, and remember, memories are everything.
It's Thursday, June 24th, and we're packing up, getting ready to head up to Camp 2 on our summit push. Here are the boys in here doing a little cooking. Rice pudding? Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Here are the other boys over here crawling out. Hey, Matt. Here's our fearless leader getting dressed. Beautiful sunrise here in Karakoram. And that's where we're headed. Okay, here we are between Camp 1 and Camp 2, about 20,500 feet. Taking a little break. And now we're gonna head up higher. From here on out, it gets in the rock. We gotta worry about the rock, is that right, Kami?
Yes, this part is very dangerous because the rock fall down. But you guys, the rope really slowly, otherwise too tight then.
All right, you heard it here first. If you pull the rope too tight, whoosh. There's a lot of verglass on the route. Hey, Matt.
We're having fun now.
We are having fun now. Okay, we're at the base of the house's chimney, and you can see somebody heading up it right now. It's really not a whole rock wall right here, and house's chimney is right kind of in the middle of it, and Camp 2 is right above, really right above that cornice right there, and that's the Black Pyramid up there. I'll zoom into that a little bit, and then come back around. You can see the guy heading up house's chimney right now. And that's where we're going to go in a few minutes. Okay, I'm about halfway up. Okay, I'm about halfway up house's chimney. There's Matt. Give me a wave, Matt. There he is. He's already climbed up it. You can see the ladder. We've got some decent front point footholds here. And this is House of Chimney from the top. Saddle is down here below. The ground is to the climber's right. You can see
So what is a Sherpa's pulse oximeter reading show
Pulse.
at 22,000 feet?
60.
Oh,
Heart
good.
rate 108. Oxy 65.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
okay, we're at Camp 2 on K2. Can you believe that? And this is another one of these spaces that real estate is very, very barren. You can see the winds just destroy the tents up here. This is the Pakistani team. It's arrived up here in a little under about 5 hours or so. That's when I got up here. So here we are at Camp 2. We just got the weather forecast from Michael Fagan. What'd he say, Garrett?
He said it's looking good for us on the 27th. Trace possibility of snow, but winds about 15 miles per hour on the summit.
Cool. All right. Now we're all dressed up in our down suits. We're going to make the little trip up to Camp 3 and across the Black Pyramid. Here we are in the Black Pyramid. Here's Matt. There's Garrett. About to climb the ladders on top of the Black Pyramid. This is where we just came out. We're going to spot a nest of ropes and tops. And that's what everybody's jugging up. Coming up from Camp 2. Right down there you can see the tents off on the right of the picture. Beautiful, beautiful day. July 26, 2014. We're at Camp 3, 24,000 feet on K2. Getting packed up to head up to Camp 4. There's the monster. Looking into China, over the Karakoram Range. See some glaciers you don't normally see. Broad Peak. There's the Equinox. This is July 26, 2014. You can see some climbers heading up, making good progress. Along the line, sneaking along. We've already passed the bottleneck. So now all they have left is the summit. And what a beautiful, beautiful day. We're almost to the summit of K2. We're going to head to work for this one. Isn't that right, Garrett?
That's right. It doesn't come easy. Not on K2. We're all working hard today.
Well, here we are. July 27th, 2014, on the summit of K2. Unbelievable. Up here, we're coming, and let me reach it.
You just summited K2. How's that Coke taste?
Unbelievable. I can't believe we summited K2. Thanks to all you guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Well done, team.
Camp 2 is down there. And there's base camp. Halfway between Camp 3. Sorry. Halfway between Camp 2 and Camp 3. Just trying to hold it together. Look at all these ropes. Woo! I've chosen this one. Ah. This is a ladder in a black pyramid going down. You can see Camp 1 down there and Camp 2. Let's swing back around. There's Matt coming down in the Sherpas. Well, I'm a little worried. My urine has turned black. It was brown 24 years ago. I had some 2 liters or more of water overnight. So, I don't know what to think. I'm trying to get down to ABC and talk to Garrett, talk to Don, we'll see if there's a doctor in camp, or maybe we can call one. I know it's dehydration, but I'm afraid my kidneys are shutting down, and my whole lower back now is really hurting. And it's not from the pack, it's only about less than 10 pounds. So, I'm going to do my best to get down. I'm still having trouble catching my breath, even with the oxygen. I know there's oxygen down ABC. It's not that far away. So, that's what I'm going to try to do.
So Kami, we climbed K2, didn't we?
Yeah, we are successful in K2, but in the way a little bit difficult because the Baldur Glacier was a very long way. That's why Alan was very tired, but it's okay, no problem. Now we are in Escarto. Today we go Escarto, yeah. Now we are waiting for the jeep.
We're waiting for the Jeeps. Well, thank you, Kami, so much for all your help. I appreciate it, man.
Okay, no
you're
problem.
a great guy.
No problem, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, we just climbed K2, and now we're in Ascoli, and we're getting ready to go. Here's our esteemed driver. How you guys doing? Everybody okay? Everybody ready to roll? All right. Inshallah.
Back door.
Okay, we're there. It was a good trip.
Hey, Matt, you just summited K2. What are you going to do now?
Sleep for 24 hours and go to Disneyland.
Climb on.
Yeah, baby.
The podcast on AlanArnett.com is sponsored by Summit Coach, helping aspiring climbers worldwide to reach their dreams.